Thank you everybody for joining the live webinar at HappyWife.com. I'm so excited that we're going to be starting this journey together. We're making a commitment to create this priority to make our marriage and our relationship the most incredible relationship possible. You know, I just came back from a trip to Israel and I met a guy there and he asked me, he said, "Oh, you're the Happy Wife guy." And I said, "Yeah, that's me." And he said, "You know, so, I don't have much time. It was just an encounter." And he said to me, "So what do you do?" What do you mean? I said, "What do you do? So tell me quickly. How do I make my marriage amazing? Tell me what to do." So I turned to the guy and I said, "Look, it's pretty simple." I said, "What do you do for a living?" He said, "Oh, I'm a doctor." "Oh, that's nice. What kind of specialty are you?" He said he's a radiologist. I said, "Oh, very nice. And do you work hard? How long have you been doing it?" He said, "About 20 years. I said, "What did it take for you to get to be a radiologist?" And he said, "Well, I had to go through medical school." I said, "Well, what did you do before that?" "Well, I had to do a 4-year undergrad." "What did you do before that?" "Well, I was in high school. Before that, junior high, elementary school." So you started in elementary school, you went all the way through to grade 12, 4 years of a bachelor's degree, you get into medical school. How long is medical school? 3 years, then a specialty. And then on top of that, how long have you been in school to be a doctor, radiologist? He said, "Well, it's like 30 when I graduated, so I guess 25 years. I said, "Wow, that's amazing." I said, "I guess once you became a radiologist, that was it. You did it. No more education." He said, "No, what are you talking about?" He says, "We're required in order to keep our license, that every year we have to do a certain number of courses to keep up with what's new. And every year we go to courses, we go to places, we learn online, we go on to these conferences every year." And I said, "Wow, are you a good radiologist?" He said, "Yeah, I'm excellent." And I said, "Excellent." I said, "How long have you been married?" He said, "About 20 years. I said, "Great. So what have you done for your marriage?" He's like, he knew I trapped him right there. He said, I'm not sure. I don't know really." So I said to the guy, I said, it's not rocket science. If you put that much energy and effort into your career, and we all know that if I asked you this question, I'm not going to ask you, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. But if I asked you the question, I said to you, "Look, what's more important, your marriage or your career?" What would you answer? Everybody knows. And of course they know that marriage is more important. All right. So if marriage is more important, how much time, effort, and energy have you put into your marriage? Learning about marriage. Learning about the newest techniques. How much effort during the week? I know you probably work 10, 12 hours a day. How much time in the day do you put to making your marriage great? How much time do you, when you're not with your spouse, how much time do you spend reading about marriage or looking at videos about marriage or going through programs about marriage? The guy was stumped. He's like, I said, "Brother, listen. If you want to have a great marriage, just like every other area of your life, you got to put the work in. You got to learn. You got to make a commitment. You've got to make a commitment." When I used to teach the seminars, I would say in the audience, I'd say to people, "Hey, anybody here play golf?" And there's always guys in there who play golf. They love golf. And I said, "What's your handicap?" They would say 10, 12, 7, somewhere around there. I say, "Wow, that's pretty good. How did you get that way?" And he says, "Well, I go to the range 3 times a week. I've bought every single gadget that helps me to make my swings right or my grip right or my alignment right." I go, "That's great. And just to do what? Just to shave a couple strokes off your golf game. Awesome. So what are you doing for your marriage?" So I'm really happy that everybody's here for this webinar. I'm really thrilled that, I get to present to you some ideas, practical ideas right from the start. Today we're going to be learning about what is marriage on a very simple, basic level. What are we trying to achieve being married? And then hopefully over the next 6 months, 12 parts, we're going to go through all these different practical areas of marriage. For example, communication, huge. We're going to learn about how to communicate properly. We're going to learn how to deal with issues. We're going to learn how to have a good fight. We're going to learn about the differences between men and women and how that applies to a marriage and a relationship. We're ultimately going to learn about love and intimacy and friendship and connection so that we understand what we're trying to achieve here. Like, what are we trying to achieve? Why get married? What are you doing being married? What are you trying to achieve? Well, my rabbi used to teach me that you don't really understand something if you don't have a definition. So it took me years, almost decades, to get a definition of marriage. And I want to share that definition with you right now, what the purpose of marriage. And we're going to work off this definition today to learn a few basic ideas about the fundamentals of a relationship and the fundamentals of a marriage. So and a lot of this stuff, that's definition and the homework, we will send you an email, follow-up email, and we will send it to you, this definition in writing, and some of the practical tools that come out of it, and the homework. We'll send it to you, so you don't have to take furious notes if you don't want to. The other thing is I want you to know that this program, as well as all of them, I'd like it to be more of a workshop than a lecture. And given that, if you have any questions, please type them. And the first 30, 40 minutes I'm going to be talking. Then hopefully at the end, for the last 15 or 20 minutes, I will answer some of your questions. So please feel free to share, to send me some questions. And I'd like this to be more of a workshop than a lecture format. So there's a few places where I'm going to stop every week. And I'm going to say, okay, if you're sitting with your spouse right now, watching with your spouse, I want you to turn to them and do this exercise. Or I want you to, declare to them this, which we're going to do in a minute. And with those, works, as you'll see, with everything, if you do it, if you apply the things that we're going to be doing, you'll see a big impact. If you don't, well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I know that you will if you do the exercises. All right, so let's start. What is the purpose of marriage? So I'm going to say it slowly, and then we're going to break it down into parts. The purpose of marriage is a lifetime commitment to constantly share with your spouse emotional intimacy. One more time. The purpose of marriage is a lifetime commitment to constantly share with your spouse emotional intimacy. So let's break this down. So what's a lifetime? What's a commitment? What does constantly mean? What does share mean? And what's emotional intimacy? What is our goal? So let's start out. The first thing we want to know is, what is a lifetime commitment? So what does lifetime mean? Okay, that's simple. Lifetime means forever. Right now, in this moment, your commitment to your spouse is forever. Now, forever, obviously, it doesn't mean, God forbid, if someone's in a relationship where, it's abusive or it's terrible, if they can't work on things because one of the people, the spouse, is not healthy and they've been advised to get divorced. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about, two people who really want to make their marriage great. So there, it's a lifetime. The attitude has to be, this is forever. So that clearly plays itself out in the here and in the now. Because, when we have a disagreement or an argument, or when things get tough, if there's a back door open in my mind and I say, this thing, if it gets too hard for me, I am out of here. Now, if we have that in my mind, I'm not really going to push myself to challenge myself to work through this issue, to stand in front of my spouse and say, look, our happiness is on the other side of this issue, and I'm not going anywhere. So we may as well work through this because we're not going anywhere. This is forever. So let's work through. Let's work through this issue. So that's what the lifetime part is. It's an attitude. I'm not going anywhere. Let's make it great. Lifetime commitment. Now, this is a word that people, do we really understand what commitment means? So some people think commitment means, well, I'm, just like I said before, the flip side, I'm not going anywhere. So if it's bad, well, I'll just gut it out because I'm committed and I follow through on my commitments. But we're going to learn as the seminar goes on, we're going to learn that's not what commitment means. Commitment, of course, is the lifetime, but the commitment is to be here in your marriage today. That's what the commitment is. You see, marriage, to have a great marriage, is a skill. You can have two people who are married and who are, let's say they're suited for each other, but they're not the great. If they apply the skill of marriage, they can have an incredible marriage. And if you have two people who are completely well suited for each other naturally, and they don't apply the skills of marriage, they'll have a lousy marriage. Marriage is a skill. And a skill means you need to get the tools, you need to get the understanding, you need to do the daily stuff. The daily stuff is where great marriages are built. And the commitment, the lifetime commitment, the commitment is for today. To commit to make your marriage great today. Doing whatever it takes today. When it's uncomfortable and you don't feel like it. One of the tools we're going to learn later on, I learned from one of my teachers, is one of my teachers said, when you get home from work, either of you, both of you, you want to make the first 20 minutes for your spouse. Don't come home from work and say, I'm exhausted, I've had a busy day, and need to take my suit off and go up and change into my track pants, and I need to have a drink, and I need to read the newspaper and go through my emails, and I really need to chill out and relax from a hard day's work. He said, don't do that. He said, the time where you need to show your commitment to your spouse are those times where you don't feel like it. It's just, you know what? I am tired, but you come first. You know what? I don't want to hear this anymore, but you want to know something? You need to speak to me? I'm here for you first. That's the commitment. The commitment is in the small things. The little small things makes a great marriage. In my book, which God willing you'll get copies of, there's a line there which I say is that a great marriage is the sum total of everyday small gestures. It's not this, whoa, we have this incredible time together, and then we don't speak for a week. And then we realize we haven't spoken. Whoa, great, huge things. I'm going to go and buy you a massive gift because I haven't seen you in a month. Yeah. There's something I call the 2-week marriage syndrome. And the 2-week marriage syndrome goes like this. You get married, things are great, you love each other, you start your job, you start your career, you're working hard, you maybe have a child, you maybe have a couple childs, you're both working hard, you have children. And then sort of time goes by, and you look at each other, and with love in your eyes, and you say, whoa, we haven't spent any time together. We've hardly spoken in the last 2 weeks. In the last month. In the last 10 months. We've already spoken. Wow, I really feel like I need to connect to you. So you go, me too. I was feeling the same way. You know what we need to do? We need to go on a vacation. We need to find something to watch the kids. And for 2 weeks, just the two of us. We'll go to some island, Turks and Caicos, and we'll have this beautiful place, and we'll just reconnect. We'll turn the phones off. We'll turn the internet off. We won't have a TV. We'll just spend our time together, connecting, having fun, and having a beautiful time to reconnect. So you do that, and 2 weeks pass, and you love it. It's awesome. You feel so connected and so loved, you fall in love all over again. And you come home and you say to each other, wow, that was exactly what we needed. And then the next day you go to work, and the kids and the mortgage payments and the community stuff you have to do, and all of a sudden time passes, another month passes, and 2 and 3 and 10 months passes, and you turn to your spouse and you go, no, we did it again. We did it again. Let's go on vacation. And you go again for 2 weeks and you reconnect. But you want to know something? If you do it again and then you do it again, those vacations much more difficult to connect in those big spikes, to hold you off. Very difficult. Now, imagine you had a plan, your commitment, you had a plan that every single day you woke up and you said, I'm going to put my spouse first. I'm going to put them first. I'm not going to allow this syndrome to happen to us. A day is not going to go by where we don't connect in one way or another. Now, my wife and I, I'll just give you something we do every single day. A little harder in winter in Canada. But every single day, my wife and I go for a walk. That's it. No matter what, the kids know that Abba and Ima, Mommy and Daddy are going for a walk. And don't call unless there's something, blood or something. Don't call. And we go. And that's our 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, every single day where we go and we talk. And we talk about whatever we want to talk about, and we connect. Just a small thing that just keeps the connection every day. Keeps the connection every day. When we go through these seminars, there's a lot of tools that I have for keeping the connection every day. But the most important one is something I want you to try right now. It's a little tool that I'd like you to do with your spouse right now. I'm going to read it to you. And I'm gonna sort of pause for a minute here while you do this if you're sitting with your spouse. If you're not sitting with your spouse, so write them this in a note and you'll give it to them a little bit later. But here's the tool that I'd like you to do right now. I want you to declare to your spouse right now your commitment to making your marriage great and to do all the work that's being given on this program, that you're gonna do it. I want you to make that commitment to your spouse right now, okay? Turn to your spouse and say to them, I am committing to you that I'm going to do what it takes to make this marriage great. And I'm going to do all the work that's given on this program. Okay. Take a minute. I'll just sit here and have a drink while I'm waiting. Okay, you both do it? Beautiful, great. Heartfelt, beautiful declaration to each other that from today, you're gonna do what it takes to put your marriage first. Now here's a tool which I use and thousands of couples have used, which really works. Now, why is it that you could go through an entire week and not connect with your spouse? How could it be possible? What's getting in the way? What's getting in the way? What's more important? Nothing. So how could it be a day or 2 or 3 could go by? How could it be? Well, here's a tool, practical tool, which has worked. When you're setting your schedule for the week, and we all have a schedule, having clients, visiting customers, we've got, classes you're going to, every Tuesday night here at 8 o'clock. Everything gets penciled into your schedule. Now, why not pencil your spouse in, but do it first? So when you're setting your schedule for the week, you say to your spouse, look, every day we need to connect. What time would work for you? If that's a little bit too much for you, at least say, okay, what nights this week can we spend some time together? And then you put it in your schedule. And as you put it in your schedule, what do? You write it down. And then when you're building your schedule, other people want meetings, other people want to connect with you, other people want, your time. You say, great. And you look at your schedule, but that time with your spouse is blocked off and it doesn't change. It never changes. So, a client says, hey, can I have a meeting? And I'm available, Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. You took your thing. You say, nope, that's date night with my spouse. You say, I am not, I can't use that, have any other time available. Now, if there's no other time available, you can teach your spouse. But generally, almost never, ever does that time get switched. Now, if you diarize it, if you actually put your spouse in your schedule every day, or if you can't do that, a couple times a week, you'll build a habit of making sure that your spouse comes first. Because that's what this is all about. That's that commitment. It's a commitment to put your spouse first. Don't let the rest of your life overtake your life. I just read this article. It's a kind of a bit of a foodie, and I have a passion for reading about really good chefs and their restaurants and whatnot. And I just read this article about this chef who got a Michelin star. He got a 2 Michelin star restaurant, and it was an article about how he did it. And after he'd done it, what was his thoughts? And he said, and his wife works with him in the restaurant. And he said, it kind of feels like we put our life on hold. We put our life on hold to get those 2 Michelin stars. And it's beautiful. We got it. It's my life's dream. But I don't even feel like we've been married for the year and a half, whatever it took to get to that. And in the article, he said he's not sure it's worth it, because the cost could have been his marriage. But somehow he woke up to it. I don't know what the rest of the story is, but somehow in that article at the end he woke up to it. But he gave away his marriage to his career. Why? It's unnecessary. You don't have to do that. Put it in. Diarize it. Put it in. Make your spouse the most important thing in your life. That's the commitment. Okay, here we go. Purpose of marriage is a lifetime commitment to constantly share with your spouse emotional intimacy. Now, this is really important. What does emotional intimacy mean? And why is that the purpose of marriage? Now, I'm going to give you a principle here. I'm going to talk about it for a few minutes. This is maybe the most important part of the entire 6 months, is this line I'm about to say right now. And then the rest of the time, we're really going to learn about how to understand that and how to be practical with that. But the really most important thing we have to understand is that the currency of marriage, the currency, how we value it, how we determine whether it's going well or not, how we understand whether it's great or not, the currency of a marriage are feelings. There's a famous cliche that says, in a marriage, would you rather be right or happy? There's so many people are sort of digging their heels in and they say, I am right. It's very, very important that you know that I'm right. And I'm going to show you I'm right. And I'm going to make you know that I'm right. Or, wow, that's completely illogical. It doesn't make any sense. How could you be feeling that way? It doesn't make any sense. Okay? well, good luck. You can be right or you can be happy. The emotional intimacy means feeling connected. Feeling connected. The purpose of marriage is to have the commitment to share with your spouse emotional intimacy all the time. We believe that when we're in, connecting mode with our spouse, at that point, we think, there, I'll connect. We're holding hands, we're having a romantic walk, we're looking lovingly in each other's eyes, we're being romantic, we're on a date, we're on an island. That's when, the feelings matter. But when we're hanging out with the kids, or we're doing laundry, or paying bills, what does that really have to do with marriage? Doesn't really matter. So when you pay bills with your spouse, and that one of them, may be very attention to detail, and the other maybe not, well, you could scream at it. Why are you not responsible? What are you doing? You don't think that's marriage? You don't think that's relationship? Or when you're walking down the street with your spouse and somebody else walks by and you turn to look and admire the other person while your spouse is sitting there. You don't think that's relationship? You don't think that matters? Or when your spouse calls you at work and you're just sitting there and you say, I'm too busy to talk to you, I'll call back, and you don't call back, even if it's for nothing? Or your spouse, sends you a note saying, can you please pick up the dry cleaning on your way home? I don't have time, and you forget. You don't think that has anything to do with it? Or your spouse asks you something mundane. You don't think that has anything? Everything in the marriage, every part of the relationship, everything is an opportunity to get close, or a lost opportunity where you didn't get close. You're either going to get close through this, feel connected, feel loved, feel bonded, feel connected to each other in this moment, or that opportunity flew away. Every moment in a relationship is an opportunity to create emotional intimacy, to feel connected with each other. Every single moment. It doesn't matter whether you're being intimate, whether you're being connected, whether you're talking, or whether you're just sitting there watching a show, or whether you're just, doing homework with the kids together, or whether you have guests over, or whether you're driving to an event. It doesn't, or you're at an event with hundreds of people and you're there with your spouse. All of it is an opportunity to create emotional intimacy. And we know it's very simple to decide, to determine whether your marriage is going great. You really don't have to ask yourself one question, and that is, how is what I'm doing now making my spouse feel? Simple as that. How is what I'm doing now making my spouse feel? We have guests over quite a bit, and we have these couples. They'll come over the years. They'd come over, and the guy was telling a story, and she's heard it before. She's heard it before that, and before that. And as soon as he starts the story, she's like, "Oh, you're not going to tell that story again." All right, how's that going to make him feel? Or he says a joke, and I'm not that joking. How's it going to make him feel? Or your wife comes and says, "I just bought this new outfit. Can I try it on for you?" You're like, I don't care. Whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. How does that make her feel? These are just mundane, everyday things. But if we could sort of tattoo on our foreheads, so we could look in the mirror every single day, we could look in the mirror and say, how do I remember this? How does what I'm doing right now make my spouse feel? Either you feel connected and you feel like you are bonding, or you lost that opportunity. That opportunity is gone. So, let's go over our definition one more time. The purpose of marriage is a lifetime commitment to constantly, that means all time in everything you're doing, share with your spouse. It's a sharing back and forth, emotional intimacy, feeling connected to one another, feeling close to one another. Okay, I would like to know if anybody has any questions. You could type them out, and I'm going to give a little bit of homework right now. And after that, I have a couple more things I'd like to say about marriage. But first, I want to give over the homework. We will be sending out an email to everybody that's on this podcast, on this webinar. We'll write down these homeworks and we'll send them out to you. But I want to give you, this is such an important way to start a program. And it's going to take you about 15 or 20 minutes. You each have to do it. This is not to do with your, does not have to do with your spouse, the initial doing of it. It's for you. But then I would like you to share it with your spouse at some point in the week. Now, I'm going to say it out loud, and we're going to send this to you again. So first thing, I want you to write a sort of free-flowing paragraph. Not long, like not more than like a page, half a page. A free-flowing paragraph describing one perfect day in your marriage. There's no limitations. You could be at home. It could be a regular day. You could be on vacation. There's no money issues. There's no, whatever your spouse, the limitations you think your spouse has, they don't have them. Whatever limitations you think you have, you don't have them. This exercise is to get your mind completely free-flowing. What would an ideal, perfect day with your spouse in your marriage look like? Now, I would like, first of all, the only rules to this is it has to be written in first person and has to be written in present tense. So first person, I, we, and present tense, are, not future tense, not past tense. So for example, when I've done this exercise a few times, sometimes it starts with, I wake up in the morning, I am waking up, and I look over and I see my spouse sleeping next to me, and my heart is just filled with warmth and love. I can't believe how blessed I am to be married to such a beautiful, spectacular person. And I sneak out of bed because I don't want to wake her up, and I go downstairs, and the first thing I do is I write her a love note. And so and you can go through your entire day. It doesn't have to be long. Just pick a few parts, and I want you to write this down for yourself, you and your spouse to do it for yourself. And once you've got it, that you like it, and it's free-flowing, and it's heartfelt, and it's a great snapshot of what your marriage could be, then when you're done it, I'd like the two of you to have a quiet moment where the two of you read it to each other. You read yours out loud to your spouse, and then your spouse will read it back to you. The very important exercise, what this exercise does is it sets the sights for what you think your marriage could be. And when we go through these 6 months together, you will achieve that vision. It's uncanny how I've seen this year after year. You will achieve the vision that you've set out. But unless you, at the beginning, create this picture in your mind of what you think your marriage could be, then you don't really know where you're going. It's that famous saying, if you don't know where you're going, you're for sure never going to get there. Well, what is your marriage going to be? I don't know. I just want it to be nice. What do you mean? What does nice mean? What's your vision of an ideal marriage? What's your vision of what you want this marriage to be? Don't understand. This could be spectacular. It could be a spectacular place for you, this marriage. But you have to have an idea of what it looks like. Then, through the tools that we have on this program, it will help you to achieve that. When I'm talking about this 6-month program, I want to just let you know that it's been worked out. in such a way that when I used to do marriage counseling, I used to make couples make a 6-month commitment. And in that 6 months, I would take them through a progression from with a place where they couldn't even sit next to each other to the end where I had tremendous success in couples coming together at the end of it. These were couples who had, real troubles and worked through their issues. And I use that same system to help couples who are, just want to enhance their marriage, to make their marriage, even better. And those 6 months, that progression is what we're going to be doing for the next 6 months here. And I want to share with you, just the outline of where we're going to go with this. And when we do it, we sort of start out, what is marriage? A vision of marriage, which we did tonight. Then we talk about there's differences between men and women and how that plays, what men need to know to make women happy, what women need to know to make the man happy, the differences, getting rid of those preconceptions that we have that we're the same, that if I just treat my spouse the way I want to be treated, it'll work out great. And we know that doesn't necessarily work out great, just because the sheer differences between us as humans, and also the differences between us as genders. And we're going to talk about that. Then, once we get through that section, we're going to spend a few weeks on, or even a couple months, on communication. I would say that almost every marriage book, I've done tons of research over the years, almost every marriage book is mostly a manual on communication skills, because ultimately all relationships are communication. You got to feel connected, you got to get connected, and you get connected through multi-levels of communication. And verbal communication is very important. And we're going to learn how to communicate with your spouse. And we're going to do lots of exercises and lots of homework assignments on how to communicate properly. Part of the communication towards the end is how to communicate issues that have been, in your marriage for a while. We're going to deal with how to communicate and work through issues. When you get past that, then we're going to learn how to have a good fight. Sometimes working through issues, the emotions get so high that you end up having an argument, and that argument can turn into a fight. Well, you know what? We're going to learn how to have a good fight. I used to call it the Pamensky rules of engagement. We're going to learn those and how to have a really good fight. After that, then we're going to get to the deep connection, friendship, love, how to create love in the marriage, where you feel connected to your spouse daily. And then intimacy in the bedroom, how to create very connecting intimacy between a husband and wife. Once we finish that, then we're going to come right back to this and go back to the definition that we started now with everything we learned. And we're going to learn, connecting to your spouse, really feeling connected to your spouse. What does that mean? In Judaism, they say that husband and wife, they actually have one soul with two bodies. Now imagine if you saw your spouse as you. You saw your spouse as you. Well, how amazing would that be? That I'm so connected to you, on a spiritual level, that I'm going to make us connected on an emotional level and on a physical level. I'm going to make the physical be the embodiment of that spiritual connection that already exists. How wonderful would that be? We'll talk about that when we get towards the end. Let me take a couple of questions now. I'm going to start one question. Question is how to deal with iPhone intrusion. How do you deal with an iPhone intrusion? Now, I'm assuming that this question means that a lot of, and I get this a lot from people, where they, their spouse complain that they're on the phone and they can't even get their attention because people are on their phones so much. So I'm going to give you a couple tools in order to how to understand how to deal with the phone. It really doesn't only apply to the phone, it applies to the computer, the emails, and just about anything else that's an interruption. It's extremely important to understand that if I can give my spouse what my spouse needs in this moment, and fully be there for my spouse in this moment and put away everything else for this moment so that we make the connection in this moment, then those things don't become an interruption. And when I don't do that, and my spouse wants to speak to me, but I'm on the phone, and I'm looking at the phone, I'm kind of looking at my spouse while I'm looking at the phone, hoping that I can, once I do that, their spouse is not getting what they need. So they're going to, I won't say fight with the phone, but they're going to be, it's going to be they're going to figure out how to get what they want from you. And it's going to take so much longer and so much more effort. It's going to create such relationship issues. It's just so much more efficient to just say to whatever you're doing, you say to your spouse, look, do you mind if I finish this one email and I'll put the phone down? Or if not, I'll just put the phone down. What do you need in this moment? And give it to them. Full attention, laser focus, make your spouse feel that connection in this moment. And once that connection is made, you get back to your phone and get back to your other stuff. It is not difficult to put your phone down. You just have to discuss it in advance. You say, honey, I'm going to give you a signal when I really need your attention. And at those times, I need you to stop whatever you're doing and give me your full, undivided attention. We're going to learn about that actually in one of the segments coming up. What full, undivided attention means. But that's it. I need your full, undivided attention for 5 minutes. Please put the phone down. Remember, I told you my wife and I take a walk every day we go for our walk. I leave my phone at home. I don't even bring it. I don't even get tempted. I won't even bring it. My wife brings it just in case the kids need us for some emergency, but I won't get on the phone. Oh, I don't even, because when I'm with my wife, I'm with my wife. You have to make that commitment. Okay, let me do one more question here. Let's see what we got. Someone just asked me, they're under the impression the classes were for husbands. Is it for couples? Well, this is definitely a class for couples. Now, if your spouse is not able to come, everything we do is recorded. You can watch with them afterwards or have them watch a separate time. But in order for this to be a truly effective program, I would really like to see couples working on this together. The power of this program is consistently making your marriage the most important thing in your life, the most important thing, for 6 months. Now, every 2 weeks, we're going to have a live webinar. It's going to have practical tools. I'm going to give homework, which I've done tonight. And that homework, you do the homework, as we build the skills. Marriage is a skill. We build the skill, we build the habit of putting your marriage first. It's really important if both of you are able to do that, where your marriage could be in 6 months. It's crazy. You won't even recognize it. It's going to be so deep and so intimate and so loving and so bonding. But it takes work. There's no free lunches here. Nothing's not just magic. Poof. There, your marriage is great. You're going to have to work on it. And working on it together is exponentially more effective than one person doing it. If your spouse isn't into it and you want to learn stuff, it's awesome. Okay. So I want to just talk to you a little bit, just for a minute, about, we have this special offer tonight. There's that if you sign up tonight before midnight, we have a special code, which is HappyWife, lowercase, HappyWife, and you put the code in tonight, you get the first month of the program for half price. So if you sign up now, do it now, you sign up today, and you're going to get the first month half price. This program, when I put it together, and I was doing it with couples, I was charging, couples $300, $400, $500 a session, an hour, to do this. I had couples fly in from overseas to spend 3 or 4 days with me, 5 days, and we did an accelerated course, this exact same thing, but we did it in like 4 or 5 days. I had a couple come in from Singapore once, from Africa, from Europe, and across the States and Canada to come, and they were paying me literally tens of thousands of dollars to take them through this, coach them through this program. And while what we're doing here for the next, the 6 months is we've got this membership program. I like to call it my inner circle. We'll get to know each other, and the people that are there will, we'll be in touch, and during the week we'll be in touch, and we'll be a group of people who are fully committed to creating, extraordinary marriages. I'm so passionate about people's marriages being good because the effects are so devastating when the marriage is on the children and on themselves and on the way they feel about every other aspect of their life. Having a good marriage, having a great marriage, a marriage that fills you up, having a great marriage is really the stepping stone to all other happiness in life. And people who are struggling in their relationship, they carry it with them like a heavy weight inside their brain, and they're carrying them with it at work, and they're carrying it. I work with some of the most successful people in the world in my coaching business, and I see when they're having issues with their spouse, it doesn't matter if they're billionaires. It's carrying like a weight around their neck. It's not hard. It takes consistent effort, and it takes a program that works, which we've created over the last 20 years. And all it does is it takes a commitment to say yes to my spouse. We did this earlier tonight. Yes, I will do what it takes to make this marriage great. I will do what it takes. Can't live these 2-week marriages. We can't live mediocre marriages. Our children are watching and they're seeing, oh, that's what a marriage looks like. And ourselves, our own, what do you want out of life? And happiness comes through, the growth that you will have to do to be a great spouse. That personal growth that it takes to be a good spouse is the personal growth that you have to go through to be happy in anything in life. And it applied to your marriage. So if you sign up tonight before midnight, HappyWife is the code, and you'll get 50% off the first month. And again, we will send you the homework and the definition of marriage. And I am so excited to share this journey with you. And I can't wait to see the transition from where you are now to where it's going to be in 6 months. I am just so excited and honored and humbled that you put your trust in me helping you through this journey. And greatest reward ever will just see after 6 months when you write me those letters saying, wow, I don't even recognize my marriage. This was fantastic. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Don't forget to sign up.